My life used to feel really chaotic. Every day there was so much to do and so little time. I mean, I had a full-time job and I'm a mother. For 2 years, I also spent every single night working on my master degree, and when that was done, I started to build my YouTube channel. After a while, I picked up digital illustration, which I've been doing on the side. At times, it really did feel like a lot, so to try to make my life more manageable, I started to simplify many aspects of my life. The first one is automating our finances. Every year, my husband and I like to estimate how much we bring in, and then we allocate according to our goals and priorities. For years, our priority is to invest because it's really important for us to have leverage and security. So typically, the first thing we do is to allocate a certain percentage towards investment, and then we organize our lives and spendings around the remaining. Now, if you had suggested this to me 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't entertain the idea because on the surface, it can sound a bit restricting. But you know what? It's actually really liberating to not live beyond our means and to know that with everything we buy, we are not doing it at the expense of our future. The second way I simplify my life is recognizing how much sleep I need to function properly for the day. Now, I never used to prioritize rest. In fact, for years, I treated overworking as a badge of honor. But later, I realized when I don't allow my body to rest properly, I'm simply not productive, even though I might seem extremely busy on the outside. For example, if I'm trying to solve a problem when I'm tired, I might sit there for 3 hours and not produce anything. Whereas if I'm in an optimized state, I can probably solve the same problem in less than half an hour. Personally, I need about 8 hours. I wish it was less than that, but it is what it is, and I'm glad that I've chosen to respect what my body needs. To make sure I get enough rest, I've also simplified my nighttime routine by leaving my phone in another room during bedtime. Instead, I'll read a fiction book on my Kindle, and usually after about 10 pages or so, I'm more than ready to fall asleep. This is quite a contrast compared to what I used to do. In the past, I'll play on my phone, and because it's so stimulating, I'll keep going for hours. And of course, I always regretted it the very next day. Number 4 is planning my outfit the night before. This takes away the decision fatigue in the early morning. I'm more creative in the morning, so it makes sense to reserve that time for the more important chores. Number 5 is cleaning out my handbag on a very regular basis. This means removing expired vouchers, unnecessary business cards, and old receipts. Over the years, I've also been downsizing the things I carry with me. For example, I'm now using a very minimal card holder instead of a wallet. For me, it's refreshing to not drag around a massive handbag for no reason. Number 6 is creating some go-to outfits. These are the outfits that I know I'll always enjoy wearing, which means I never have to feel like I have nothing to wear. Typically, my common go-to outfits include a cozy cashmere jumper and a pair of skinny jeans. And if I feel a bit dressier, I'll go for a simple black dress. And depending on the weather, I'll maybe add a scarf or a coat. I also have a few dresses that I wear repeatedly for special occasions. The next one was a scary thing to do at first, but I'm so glad I finally allowed myself to do it, and that is creating boundaries with toxic people and environment. This can be hard to do, especially when you're young, because you might not be able to actually conceptualize the fact that people are being toxic. For example, you might notice how you always feel deflated and like you're not good enough after talking to a certain person. I've had the experience of a family member constantly talking down to me and my husband. I let it roll for a bit because I'm not comfortable with confrontations. It took me a while to realize that this is a toxic relationship and I'm only doing myself a disservice by ignoring it. So now I limit my contact with this person. It's not ideal, but I feel so much better. Now I know we all have different personalities, so it's only normal when we get along with certain people and not the others. But if you ever feel like you're not getting even the basic respect, or if you are in a setting where people allow this to happen, know that you can make the choice to say no to this whole situation. Another way I've simplified my life is identifying my most creative hours and then making the most use of them. Personally, I feel the most creative and inspired in the morning, and so I like to reserve those hours for the more creative tasks. At the moment, this means working on my illustration project, brainstorming video ideas, planning and journaling. Now I know this might not be applicable to everyone. I'm quite fortunate to have some flexibility in my schedule now, but back then when I had my day job, I used to have to drive about 45 minutes each way, and so to make use of those golden hours, I'll listen to audiobooks. Many times I'll also go to work early just so I can do some work in the car by myself without having to worry about being late. Number 9 is to unsubscribe from email newsletters, especially from shopping websites. Now, whenever you make an online purchase, the first thing they ask for is your email address. I notice whenever I buy anything online, I'll immediately start receiving their emails newsletters. At first, I'll just let it roll, but after a while, I realized I was bombarded with so many emails every single day. So now, whenever I purchase anything online, I will unsubscribe the minute they send me anything. And I'm glad to say my inbox has been so much more pleasant to look at. Another way I simplify my life has been very awakening, and that is cutting down my time on social media, especially Instagram. Some of you might have noticed I've not been very active on Instagram in the last 2 years. You see, being on social media myself, I now have a very different view about those platforms compared to before. And to give you some context, I only post an outfit when I think I look decent. In fact, that is the reason why social media can seem so intriguing, because you can choose what to post and what to keep to yourself. The truth is, when I'm not feeling my best, the last thing I want to do is to take a photo of myself. We now have more awareness about social media, so a lot of people will tell you social media or Instagram is not real life because you don't get to see everything. But yet, it can be so addictive. For me, it wasn't until I became part of the algorithm that my mindset really shifted about social media. The next one for me is a very important step in simplifying, and that is knowing what I will and will not buy. Last week, I posted a video about the things I no longer spend money on, and one of them, for example, is nail polish. The idea of having a no-buy list is to have some kind of structure for your spending. In my case, because I know I don't value nail polish or designer t-shirts, I no longer spend time and energy browsing those items. In fact, any sales or discounts are no longer tempting to me because they are simply irrelevant. Another way I simplify my life is defining my own saves and splurges. Now, if you enjoy certain luxury items, you might notice it can be quite easy to go down a slippery slope where you feel like everything you own has to be designer. So for me, it's really important to have a framework that I can follow for when I want to shop for my wardrobe. For example, I enjoy a timeless luxury handbag and fine jewelry pieces, but I'm also perfectly happy wearing t-shirts from Uniqlo and trainers from Nike and Vans. Defining my own saves and splurges means I can enjoy a few nice things without feeling like I'm missing out on everything else. Another way I simplify my life is to only buy something if I know I have the space for it. I truly believe that everything we own should have its own living or storing space, because quite simply, if you want to make use of what you have, you need to first of all make them accessible, and secondly, it helps if you know where things are. So it makes sense to think about storage before purchase. This is why I like to review my wardrobe every 6 months or so, and if I come across something that I don't use much, I'll then consider selling or decluttering to free up some space. Another way I've simplified my everyday life is to have a clean workspace. I find that when my space is clean and tidy, I can focus so much better. This is why I always make sure to tidy up when I'm done working, because I want the space to look as inviting as possible for the next day. The next one is turning off notifications on my phone. The only notifications I get now are for the text messages from my husband and my family. I cannot explain how much calmer I feel just by doing this. It made me realize that a lot of things on my phone can and should wait. Another amazing way to simplify is meal planning. At first, I did it purely to survive my very hectic schedule. For example, I'll pack lunch for myself and my husband every single day, and every weekend we plan what to buy, cook and eat. Of course, this required a bit of effort, but it also took away so much stress during the week. So even though I'm currently on a break from my day job, I still swear by meal planning because this way we only have to do grocery shopping once a week, we rarely overbuy anything, and we don't waste any food. So those are some of the ways I've simplified my life. As you can see, a lot of these are very small and actionable steps, but collectively they made such a difference to my life. If you have any inspiring tips, please share them down below. Thank you for being here, and I wish everyone an amazing 2024.